Imagine waking up one morning to find that everything you know, your home, your family, your freedom, is about to be taken away. Not because of anything you did, but because of who you are. This is the story of the Holocaust, one of the darkest and most horrifying chapters in human history. It's a story of how hate, fear, and silence allowed the murder of millions of innocent people. And it's a story we must never forget. But how did it happen? How did an entire country, an entire continent, fall into the grip of such evil? And more importantly, could it happen again? Let's start at the beginning. In 1933, Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party rose to power in Germany. The country was still recovering from the devastation of World War I, and Hitler offered a simple solution to the nation's problems: blame someone else. He pointed to the Jewish people as the cause of Germany's struggles, using centuries-old prejudices to fuel his propaganda. It started with words, dangerous words. Jewish people were labeled as enemies of the state. New laws stripped them of their rights, banned them from public life, and marked them as outsiders. Businesses were boycotted. Schools and parks were closed to Jews. But that wasn't enough. By 1939, Hitler's Germany invaded Poland, sparking World War II. With every new territory they conquered, the Nazis rounded up Jews and other minorities: Roma, disabled individuals, LGBTQ people, and political opponents. At first they were forced into ghettos, overcrowded slums with horrific living conditions. Families were separated. Starvation and disease ran rampant. But this was only the beginning of the Nazis' final solution. In 1941, the Nazis began building death camps. These weren't prisons, they were factories of death. Camps like Auschwitz, Treblinka, and Sobibor became symbols of unimaginable cruelty. People were packed into cattle cars, sent to these camps, and told they were being relocated. In reality, they were being sent to their deaths. Most were murdered in gas chambers. Cold, calculated genocide. Others died from starvation, forced labor, or brutal medical experiments. By the end of the war, over 6 million Jews had been murdered. But the Nazis didn't stop with Jewish people. They targeted anyone they deemed unworthy of life. People with disabilities, political dissenters, Jehovah's Witnesses, and even children. Entire families, entire communities were wiped out. Here's the most chilling part. The world knew. Governments had reports of what was happening, they had evidence of the genocide, but they chose to look away. They chose silence. That's why remembering the Holocaust is so important. It didn't happen overnight. It started with words of hate, with laws of exclusion, with small acts of discrimination. If we forget these stories, if we allow history to fade, we risk repeating the same mistakes. If you've made it this far, thank you. These stories are difficult to hear, but they must be heard. They must be shared. If you believe it's important to remember, please like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories from history and beyond. So, what can we learn from the Holocaust? We learn that hate doesn't start with violence. It starts with words. It starts with labels. It starts with silence. We learn that ordinary people can become part of something horrific when they fail to speak up. And we learn that the dangers of hate and intolerance are still present in our world today. Here's a question for you. If you lived in that time, would you have spoken out? Would you have acted? Or would you have stayed silent, like so many did back then? The Holocaust isn't just a story of the past, it's a warning for the future. We must remember, we must educate, and we must promise to never let it happen again. Thank you for watching.